Welcome to number 3 of the Adulting 101 class. This is car maintenance. We have Mr. Bernard. He's going to be our specialist for today. I'm Ethan, the Eagle Scout, organizing the whole event. This is Seth, one of our helpers from previous classes, and Evan, another helper. You're going to be seeing them throughout the videos. This one will be posted up on YouTube. I'm going to say thanks to the Twinsburg Library for allowing me to do this, as well as to the Boy Scouts for allowing me to do this. The next video will be house maintenance. That's going to be up much later in September, so we'll get started.
Hi everybody, this is a 2010 Honda Accord. Most cars have the same type of layout inside. So the first thing you need to do before you do any car maintenance is how do you open the hood. So usually there's a latch right on the inside of the driver's side, usually down by the feet. Just pull the latch. So the latch goes ahead and releases the hood, but there's a safety mechanism on the hood. So you can't just pick the hood up, obviously. And that's the safety mechanism, so when you're driving down the road, the latch gets pulled, it doesn't flip up on you. So usually, right underneath the front, there's a latch that either moves to the left or to the right. On this one, it's about just off center of the emblem, and you just put your fingers underneath it and you pick it up. And you pick up the hood. So this is the little latch thing with the safety mechanism. So to support the hood, most cars, not all cars, have a rod to pull out that you insert somewhere in the hood. And usually there's a little arrow with a little symbol saying stick it right here. Stick it right in there. And it keeps the hood up. So now we'll take a look at some of the insides of the vehicle. So now we're going to take a look at the engine. It's a very, very, very busy place, so don't be intimidated. We'll just go kind of clockwise around and kind of explain what the different things are. So this is your brake cylinder where your brake fluid goes. If you look really closely on a lot of your brake cylinders, you'll notice there's a high and a low. You just want to make sure that that's right at the right level. This is your fuse box. If you pop this open, you'd see all the fuses for your car that are in there. Coming down here, this is your air cleaner. So there's some little latches here. We'll go over that a little bit later, how to replace the air cleaner. This is the air intake going into the engine. Coming down through here, we have the battery. This is your negative terminal, and this is your positive. Positives are almost always red with a plus sign, and the battery will have a plus sign on it too. This is the radiator hose, the upper, and there's one on the bottom underneath the engine for the water to come in and be circulated through the engine. This is your radiator cap. Do never take off your radiator cap while the engine's hot. And this is your overflow reserve for your coolant. So the radiator, when it gets hot, the fluid moves into there when there's not enough room in the radiator for the fluid. Coming over here, you have the windshield wiper fluid. It's almost always labeled blue, with a blue lid on it. This is your power steering fluid. And here's your oil. You check your oil here. And then this is the cap for to add more oil to your engine. Okay, everybody. So I kind of went around and explained what the different parts of the engine are. This is a typical air filter. So on most cars and air filters, they're actually held down with clips. I won't be able to get them all undone by itself, but you undo these clips, and this unit lifts off, and you'll actually see the air cleaner be able to sit in there. And you just pull it out, switch it out, put the lid back down on top of it, and you're set. So usually air cleaners, you want to do those every 1 or 2 years, depending on how often you drive the car and your mileage and the different environments that you run in. If you run in like a dirt roads and a lot of that, you'll have a lot more dirt and stuff that your car picks up through the air cleaner. Batteries, typically you can get anywhere from 3 to 5 years out of a battery, sometimes longer. It depends on the type of battery and the type of car that you have. But they're pretty easy to replace. Most cars, you have 2 screws that hold down the battery with this brace. So you want to spray some like lubricant on the nuts before you try to take them off to kind of loosen the rust and stuff like that. So then the brace lifts up, and then you have two terminals, and each one has a nut on it. So you want to take these nuts off and disconnect it, replace the batteries for those. That's pretty simple to do. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the windshield wiper fluid. So if you're in northern Ohio, you know you kind of go through windshield wiper fluid quite frequently going through the winters. So most cars, the cap's blue, and it'll be labeled with a nice little symbol on there that represents a windshield wiper and windshield and fluid coming out of it. So to replace it, you just simply pull the cap. It's got a little dipstick thing in there, and I prefer to use a funnel. You just kind of set the funnel on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just guide the fluid down in there. And then as the fluid's going in, you're going to notice that it's going to be rising up on the neck. Okay, that's good. Yep. And as you can see, yeah, I want to leave at least an inch or two away from the top. And you put the lid back on. And there's your windshield. Okay, everybody, now we're going to check the oil. So on most engines, the oil dipstick is like an orange or a yellow, and it's usually right on top of the valve cover. So just go ahead and pull that off. Yep. And usually I recommend you wipe it off first as soon as you pull it off, and then stick it in. Excellent. And the reason we do that is if you're driving your car, sometimes the oil splashes up on the dipstick, and you're fine, you're good.
Not going down.
There you go. There it is. So then you put it all the way in. Now pull it out again and check it. And get up close to the camera so you can see. So as you can see here, it is just about in the middle, which is right where you want it. That's the sweet spot. So you can wipe it off and stick it in again. Yep. So as long as it's between the low and the top, here, and you pop it down like that. So if you did have to add oil to it, there's a little cap here. You just go ahead and twist it. Most caps are labeled with the type of oil that you want to put in, 5-weight 20. A lot of the cars nowadays you can put in either 5-weight 20 or 0-weight 20. The first number represents the winter weight. So when you start your engine, it's expecting the weight to be 5-weight, or it can be lower. So 0 works fine too. To load up the oil, you take a little funnel and your favorite brand of oil. You always want to check the weight, make sure that the weight is set right. So like I was saying, on these cars I did the research, is 0-weight 20 is okay to put in these engines too. So it's 5-weight. And you just unscrew the cap. So if it was low and then you just pour it in, probably put in maybe a cup at a time just to, and then recheck the level if you need to. And then undo the funnel. And you don't want to monkey tighten this, you just kind of tighten it just enough to make it snug. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the coolant. The coolant actually cools your car. It goes through the radiator and gets pumped through your car and stuff like that. So you'll periodically want to check the level of your coolant, make sure it's not low. This one, I'm looking, there's a min and a max level on the reservoir here. This one's at the minimum. So what you want to do is you want to check your coolant level when your car is cold or very, very cool. So you want to let it set at least a half an hour if you were driving it before you check it. You never ever want to open these, the coolant reservoir or the coolant on top of the radiator, the lid, while the car is hot, because the liquid is a couple hundred degrees, and if it gets on you, it will burn you. So you always want to make sure it's cold to the touch or cool to the touch before you open any one of these. So to add more coolant is you don't actually add it to the radiator, you actually add it to the overflow reservoir. And then when it needs it, it'll suck it into the radiator when it's needed. So you just unscrew this little thing right here. And this is the little tube that's used to suck the coolant in there. You can see that it was at the minimum level. and there's some coolant coming out. Then you just take a little handy dandy funnel, stick it in the hole, add your coolant, drip, drip, drip. Excellent. Bring it up to above the minimum line, but below the max line, and then you add your cap back on, and you tighten it down. And that's how you add your coolant. Okay. Hi everybody. Alright, so now, before we talk about tire pressure, we're going to talk about tread depth. To be legal, you need to have about 3/16 inches of tread on your car. So there's a little trick that you can use a penny with. So if you can see the top of Abe Lincoln's head when you put it in the tread, then you know you're getting darn close to needing tires replaced. So I would say that if you can see the top of Lincoln's head when you put it in the tread depth, that you should seriously think about looking into getting new tires. So you can just go to your local tire shop, and they'll check your tires for you for free, and they'll give you an estimate and how much time you have left if you didn't need to replace them, or if you do need new tires. There's also a handy dandy tool out there called a tread depth measure, and it's got different numbers on there that represent 1/16 of an inch of tire. So you always want to be above 3/16. If you're at 3/16, you're probably going to need new tires. We live here in Ohio, and it snows quite a bit up on the north end here. So if you're getting close to like 5/16, you should seriously consider about getting new tires if you're driving in the winter. But that's just a recommendation. There's no law against it. But you use this tool. You just stick it in, and then you look at the number that it's close to. And on this one, it's about 7/16 of an inch. And you want to measure, take about 3 different readings on different places of the wheel to kind of get a good average of where you're at. So this one's set right between 7 and 8 on that measurement. So now we'll move to testing the tire pressure. And this is where our button comes in. Some people like testing it at the top, some people like testing it at the bottom, but you want to take the cap off the top of the tire. And it's got 2 different tools here to test tire pressure. One is a round gauge, and this one's a little bit more of the stick gauge that some people use. Either one's fine. Every tire gauge measures just a little bit different, so I would recommend always use the same tire gauge when you're measuring your tires. When Evan tries this one, you'll see that it's about 5 pounds off. So what does it read?
Like 38.
Yeah, 38, so try this one.
Like 42.
Yeah, so it's about 5 pounds off. So I intentionally put 40 pounds of pressure in this tire because there's a leak in it, and I had to find the leak. So what I did is I took some soapy water, and I had to find the leak on this tire, and it's actually around the rim here. So I marked this one as a slow leak, and eventually when I get around to it, I'm going to take it into the tire shop and have them take a look on it. That's usually the best way to find how to find a tire leak in your car, is to use soapy water, take it off your car. The bubbles will bubble up on it, and you'll be able to see where the tire leak is. So on this one, it happened to be right around one of the places here on the rim. I can see the little bubbles coming out. So how much air do you put in your tires, and where do you know that? Where's that information stored at? There's 2 different places. One place is in your handy dandy owner's manual. So if you open up your owner's manual, I like to keep mine in my glove box. They usually have 3 or 4 books. But if you look in the back of it and you look up tire, it'll say air pressure. And this one says page 340. Page 340. It'll have a little chart here that tells you how much air that it puts in. And on this one it says it recommends putting 32 pounds per square inch PSI in your tire. And you want to do it when it's cold. not actually cold, but not after you've driven your car. Because as you drive your car, your tire heats up, and the pressure actually increases in your tire. So it could be 10% higher after you drive your car. So it's just best to check your tire pressure when it's cold. It's not an absolute rule, but it's just best practice. So now we're going to talk about spare tires and jacking up the car and replacing the tire if you have a flat. So most cars, the spare tire and the jack utensils are located in the trunk. Sometimes the spare tire is underneath the car, so you have to look at your manual and decide where it is and kind of figure it out. So in this one, it's in the trunk. You lift up the back little cover here and get your tools. You got your jack tools here. So a lot of cars nowadays come with a nice handy dandy little styrofoam thing that you keep all of them in. So you've got your jack, little jack tool to help spin the jack to make it go up and down, and then the lug wrench that you take your lug nuts off with. So we'll set this aside here real quick. And you have your spare tire. And most of the spare tires are attached with a little nut to the bottom of your car so they don't fly around. And you just twist this about 20 or 30 times to get the bolt to come up. And that's it. So you just take that little thing off, set it right next to it, and you pick the tire up out of the well. And as you can see, or you will see, the tire is much smaller and lighter than a regular tire. So let's say you do need to change your tire. If you have a front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, you won't necessarily have to jack the car up first, but whatever drive, if you're not using the tire that doesn't have the drive, it'll just spin around and around and around if you don't loosen the lug nuts before you jack it up. So pull the tools out of the back of the car. This is your lug wrench. Got a little wrench on it, and you put it on the lugs to loosen them. You have your jack that you'll jack up, and most of the jacks they make nowadays have a little spinny thing that'll lift up. It'll lift your car up, and we'll tell you where we're going to put that here in a few minutes. And you got a little hook thing that'll help you spin your jack as you lift it up. So with that, if you want to change your tire, it's a lot easier to loosen the lug nuts while the car is setting down. You'll figure that out if you try to loosen the lugs and you're not doing it on a drive wheel. Because if we did it on the rear of this car, it's front wheel drive. If you did it on the rear, you try to loosen the lug and the tire would spin around and around if you jacked it up first. That was I was trying to explain in the beginning. So I guess we'll move on to loosening the lug nuts before we jack the car up. So there we go. And a lot of times you're going to need a little helper. As you can see, Seth's a strong guy. What we have here is we have like a 1-inch bar. It's about 2.5 feet long, and it'll give you the leverage that you need to loosen the lug nuts. So you go ahead and slip that right on in. If you don't want to get your hands dirty and you want to protect your hands, I highly recommend you wear gloves when you change a tire. If you don't have gloves, you can still do it. It's just kind of easier with gloves. So there you go. You want 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, so in most cars, there's actually a special place that you want to put the jack. So I don't know if you got it in the video, but underneath the little doors, there's a little mark, and then you can look in the owner's manual. You want to slide the jack in right underneath that point. So usually what I do is I go ahead and pre-spin it just to the point where it's about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the car. And then slide it right in underneath there. And then you kind of tighten it so it touches. And this is where the fun begins. So then you take your little hook tool. So a lot easier to do with a floor jack, but you can't do this by hand. So if you're on the side of a road, you want to make sure you pull off the road far enough. So if you're out where Seth is, you have plenty of room to change the tire and stay away from oncoming traffic. You don't want to get run over while you're changing a tire on the side of the road. Seth went ahead and jacked up the car. It's about an inch off the floor. So now we just loosen the lug nuts. Now we want to take them off. So this is the easy part. So Seth went ahead and loosened this one up really good. So you can take it off. And you want to make sure you keep track of these. You don't want to lose your lug nuts. So this one, yes, it's good. Sometimes the wheel shifts back and forth and it'll put pressure on the lug nuts, so it may be a little harder to come off. So this car comes with steel wheels and it has wheel covers. So this is actually what they call the wheel cover. Plastic comes off and you have your steel wheel. And you usually want to take 2 hands. Your hands are going to get dirty. And you just shake the wheel back and forth and take it off. So then if this tire was flat, you'd want to take your spare tire or your second tire and just reverse the procedure. Stick it back on. Okay. So that comes off with your wheel cover. And you want to take a look at the wheel cover. A lot of the wheel covers have a special notch put in there for the valve stem. And that's your valve stem. That's where you get your tire. The air in on the tire, and you want to match that up. And then you want to get the wheel perpendicular to the lugs, so it makes it easy to put the lugs on. So right now, I'm just going to hand tighten these. Okay, so now here comes the special part. This is where I'm going to need Seth. All right. I'll let you tighten them down, Seth, but I'll explain what we're going to do. So when you're tightening down lug nuts, is you don't want to start and go in a circle all the way around. You don't want to do that. You want to do a star pattern. So you're going to tighten them down. So you'll just tighten them down a little bit each time, all the way around. And I'll walk you through how to do that. So pick a lug. Perfect. And by doing the star pattern, it assures that the wheel is being tightened down with equal force against the hub of the car. Okay, so now do down a little bit tighter. Go a little bit harder. Okay, now do the star pattern. There we go. Good. Now it's my turn. So, just as a quality check, I'm going to go ahead and just ensure that they're tightened down, and I'm going to put a little bit more force onto it, a little bit bigger. Make sure that they're tightened down really good. You want to make sure your lugs are really tight. Okay, you don't want your lugs to come loose and your wheel to fly off. So, lugs have been tightened. We're going to tighten them one more time after we set the car down, but now we have to lower the jack. And since we're just doing the front wheel of the front wheel drive car, we could tighten the lugs while the car was up in the air. If you're doing the rear of a front wheel drive car, you'll probably have to set the tire down on the ground and then tighten the lugs. Otherwise the wheel will spin around. Yep. And so, like I said before, we're just going to go ahead and make sure these are really tightened down. Car's now on the ground. And this is where the gloves come in. A lot more pressure putting on the bar like that. So, I'm going to lean into it really good. And make sure you put the tools back for the next time you need to change them. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and go into replacing the windshield wipers. Usually, just as a backup tool, is I'll bring a screwdriver along, just in case, because sometimes there's a little latch that you have to undo, but I'll explain that in a minute. So these are like two different types of windshield wipers. They're made by the same company, but they'll do what they want us to do. Is when you take these off, it comes with a bunch of different connectors, because different car manufacturers have different ways of attaching theirs. Thank you. And you see these little different connectors. And the beauty of it is there's an instruction sheet on the back of the new windshield wiper. So you just follow the instructions. So you'll take a look at what you have on your car already and trying to figure out which adapter you need. Most cars, it comes preset to the one that you need. So this one is just a little loop latch that you put in there. So we'll have our assistant Evan here go ahead and take this off. So you'll want to gently pick up the arm. And Evan, if you want to take your hand here and slide it down. Use 2 hands. There you go. There you go. And if you notice, on this one, this is just a little loop hook. And then the new wiper is going to just slide right in there. So maybe the old one. There you go. Perfect. And then we kind of line that up. And it's kind of awkward on getting these in. So there you go. Got it. Let's go ahead and pull it towards you. Oh, no, you got to just kind of pull it towards you. There you go. And it just clicks right into place. And this, it's an older car, so this little thing's coming up. And that's actually how you do the wiper. So I'm going to go to the other side and we'll do the other one. And I prefer to use a little old shirt or something so I can lay the stuff on the hood without scratching the hood. So this box, go ahead and undo this. And it's got a bunch of connectors too. Yep. And it comes with a different instruction sheet. It's not on the back like the other one, but we'll go ahead and read that. It comes with the different connectors for the different manufacturers. And this one's a similar type thing. You don't need this thing. So, where are they? Go ahead and pull that off. You should just, sometimes there's a little hook that you need to press with the screwdriver. You take it, press it in to pull the latch out. And here's this one. So you want to kind of get it underneath it. There you go. Almost. Yep, this one's ready. There. Yep. Yep. Perfect. Push it up, latch it down. You got a new, oh, this one's got a little cover on that. So there you go. And that's how you do your windshield.